Well, first of all, thank you all for participating in this webinar. It's the final event of the ASSIST project. It's been 3 years of hard work, and we are very happy to share with you the results of the project. And we will have 3 webinars in the coming days, starting all at 10:30, going to 12, to discuss some of the topics that we studied during the ASSIST project. Today, we will have a look at the local initiatives with the contribution of the members of our national steering committees. There will be a roundtable coordinated by Marta Garcia from ECOSERVEIS with the participation of 1 member of each steering committee. Before we start, just some technical issues. All the participants have the microphone and the camera off. The speakers will have the microphone on, and you will be able to see them on the screen. If you have any question related to the speaker, you can see on the bottom there is the Q&A box. You can pose your question through the Q&A box. There is the organizational secretary. They will be taking care of filtering the questions and of then posing them to the various speakers. I apologize if for time constraints we will not be able to answer all the questions. We will be, of course, available after the webinar on email and any other way, communication way, to provide you more details on the model, on what the results of the project. Of course, you have also the information available on the ASSIST website. During the 3 webinars, there will be also a graphic illustrator who will be preparing a nice graphical layout of the 3 webinars. And at the end of the cycle, you will be receiving not only the graphical layouts, but also the daily digest of what has been said during all 3 webinars. You've all received the PDF with the instructions. I invite you, if you haven't done so, just to go through them to check everything. And I think that for the technical issues, we have covered them all. So let's now start with the ASSIST project. ASSIST is a 3-year project dealing with energy poverty. The idea of the project was to test an innovative and holistic model to provide the consumers with support and advice on all energy related issues. The idea, therefore, was to train what we have called the household energy advisors, who are operators already working on the ground, empowering them on all the issues related to energy poverty. This enables consumers to have a figure, a professional figure, to answer their needs and to provide them with the support that they need. Further, the added value is that there is not only an empowered figure, but there is a national network of empowered figures, of HEAs, which can collaborate, share experience, all coming from different working contexts, and can provide a real added value to consumers on the management of their energy needs. The idea of the empowerment of the HEAs is to follow the multidisciplinarity and multisectoral issues of energy poverty. So that's why we need operators who are working on the ground, who have the direct contact with the consumers, but at the same time, they have empowered competences on all the issues of energy poverty. The project has been developed for the last 3 years in 6 countries. It has proved to be a successful model, the HEA assist model, and the significant added value of the model is that thanks to this holistic approach, it can be taken up by different actors working from different sectors. That can be institutions, energy operators, social operators, and any other type of actors who are interested in delivering services and support to consumers in need. What we will now look is the local initiatives. We will hear about the local initiatives with our steering members. And I would like to introduce you to Marta Garcia, who will be coordinating the roundtable of local initiatives. Marta?
Thank you, Marina. Thank you, participants, for joining us in this event. It's an honor for me to moderate this session with a representation of members of the steering committee within ASSIST project. As you all know, I mean, energy poverty needs to fit from different approaches, and this is what we've been doing through this 36-month H2020 funded project. We have been feeding from experts from different sectors: energy, social, consumers, health, from different profiles, different backgrounds, academics, energy consultants, public workers. And it's been a pleasure to receive all these inputs regularly, I mean, during the 36 months of the project. I mean, the way we work within ASSIST was to set up a series of national committees, one in each member state, one in Belgium, in Poland, in Italy, in UK, in Finland, and in Spain, and one steering committee at EU level. But as we have Marina here as a coordinator, I prefer her to explain how was the setup of these platforms, and how do you think these steering committees have contributed to the project and to tackle energy poverty in Europe?
Thank you, Marta. Indeed, the steering committee have contributed in a very significant way to the entire development of the project. The steering committee were part of the project since the start. The idea was to set up one national steering committee in each of the 6 countries involved in the project, and also one at European level. Each steering committee is composed of at least 10 members representing the different sectors of energy poverty. So we have members coming from energy operators, we have members coming from the social sectors, the social operators, we have members representing institutions such as ministries, authorities, but also municipalities. And I would say that the greatest contribution of the steering committee was to bring together all the different perspectives of energy poverty. The steering committee has met 3 times in each country and at European level, and we have shared with them throughout the project the results, the progress, the idea of ASSIST, and we have received their feedback, their inputs on how to focus better or fine-tune some activities, and they have been very important contributions, which have also helped us to prepare the policy framework paper, which will be presented on the 3rd webinar, that is on Thursday. And definitely the idea of having experts on energy poverty coming from different sectors, giving us their contribution, as you will see from the roundtable, because also in the roundtable we have tried to invite representatives from the different sectors, and I think the best way to show the contribution of the steering committee is to let the members speak for themselves with the initiatives they have been carrying out.
Thank you, Marina, and I would like to welcome all the panelists here today. I would like you to introduce, I would ask you to turn on your cameras, panelists, so we will start with the roundtable. I would like to introduce you with Stefan, Marius, Enzo, Neil, Johanna, and Carmen. Good morning, and thank you all for joining us today. To make the virtual session a bit more dynamic, I would invite the experts to introduce themselves, their experience and relation with energy poverty and within the ASSIST project. So we may start with Belgium representative Stefan Gomer. If you turn your micro. Yeah, okay. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Marta, and thank you, Marina, and hello, Europe. So I'm Stefan. I'm from Belgium. I'm a social worker working for an organization called Samenlevingsabel, which is something like community building. So I'm a community worker. And I've been fighting energy poverty together with people in energy poverty, well, for a few years now. Our organization was member of the steering board in Belgium, and myself, I was a home energy advisor in Flanders for the ASSIST project. And I also a social entrepreneur with the Papillon project, but we'll come later to this.
Thank you.
Okay.
We fly some kilometers to Poland. Mariusz Sora, Mr. Sora, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. Talking about mixed experience in this project, well, I am a member of the Board of Appeal at the EU Agency for the Cooperation of Energy Regulators. I'm also a researcher and practicing lawyer. And the reason why I am here is probably that in the past, when I was energy regulator in Poland, I had energy poverty very high in my agenda, initiating first ever in Poland wide public debate on the protection of vulnerable consumers, issuing reports and policy proposals, and I was also working closely together with scientific institutes and NGOs. Another reason is probably that I'm an author of several papers related to the protection of vulnerable consumers. So that's more or less my experience with the subject matter of today's webinar.
Thank you, Mr. Sora. In Italy, we have a representative from the municipalities, in this case in Parma, Mr. Bertolotti. Enzo, if you could introduce yourself. Yeah, turn the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Good morning, everyone. I am Enzo Bertolotti. I am responsible of Energy and Climate Division of Municipality of Parma. We are in the sector of mobility and energy mobility. I am an architect. I am an energy manager in the municipality, and I have participated in the first commission on board in Italy of the asset project. And in this moment, I understand and engage our energy agency from the activities with the energy poverty is the ideal subject for our work. Okay.
Thank you, Enzo. In UK, we have a health and social representative, Neil Penny. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm a health and social care commissioner in Gloucestershire. Gloucestershire is we have about 650,000 citizens who we serve. I think from a health point of view, the key thing to remember is that energy poverty and poor housing cold homes has an impact on people's health. As far as the health service in the UK are concerned, it's great that people are living longer. However, this can present issues to us as a health service. So we put a lot of emphasis now on prevention, and prevention is key to us. So rather than trying to treat people when they're actually ill, let's try and address the issues that might make them ill in the first place. So along with recognise things like smoking, poor diet, lack of exercise, also cold homes should be included in that, because cold homes and energy poverty are key factors in people's health. So our interest as health and social care is improving people's health and well-being, and helping to address issues of energy poverty in turn helps improve people's health and well-being. So that's where we got involved with the Assist project with our colleagues at 7Y Energy Agency, who are our experts in addressing issues around energy poverty. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. In Finland, we have a national representative from the Energy Authority of Finland, Johanna Kirkinen.
Hi. Hi, everyone. So my name is Johanna Kirkinen, and I come from the Finnish Energy Authority. I work there as a senior engineer. I've been working there for 2 years, and that has been the years that I have been in part of the energy poverty. So I am part of the National Steering Committee. I have background. I have done a PhD about the climate change mitigation, and I have been working with energy and environmental expert tasks for some 16 years.
Thank you, Johanna. And finally, in Spain, we have a consumer organization representative, Carmen Redondo.
Thank you for inviting me to participate in this European conference. I would like to share three slides of what is where I'm working. I don't know if you see.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. I work in a, I don't know. Yeah. You can see. Okay. Thank you for inviting me. I represent. I work in a consumer organization. The name is SPACOOP, the Spanish Confederation of Consumer User Cooperatives. We groups and coordinate the Spanish consumer cooperatives and represent consumers through this cooperative before the different national and international institutions. SPACOOP covers several regions of Spain and also different federation and cooperative directly affiliate to our confederation organization. As a consumer organization, let me see, we try to represent the interest of consumer cooperatives and consumers and carry out our activity in two fronts, like representing the interests of consumer cooperatives and also representing consumers through group this cooperative of legal form. As a consumer organization, we try to represent consumers in the energy sector, protecting them and defending their rights. For example, we have engaged consumers in this market to obtain the benefit of liberalization and how to participate in the energy market. We SPACOOP developed several projects, national projects focused on better functioning of the markets and empower consumers about energy efficiency in the domestic household. None of these projects are focused or aim to vulnerable consumer and consumer in situation of energy poverty, mainly in electricity sector in Spain, because it's the most problematic sector. This is why we are part of the member of the steering committee in this project. We are a board member of the Electricity Advisory Council. who represent a household consumer acting on behalf of their interests in the electricity sector, working with the analysis of proposal of law related to protection and defense of vulnerable consumers and consumers in general. No? We try to be develop projects, but also speakers in different conferences about vulnerable consumers to try to protect consumers in this sector. This is why we try to assist or to participate in as a member of Vulnerable Consumers Steering Committee, and to try to assist the project partners in identifying relevant stakeholders, provide feedback to the coordinators, and to support the project in interacting with the relevant policymakers and other stakeholders relevant in this project.
Thank you, Carmen. Yeah, so let's start with the first round of questions. Energy poverty is seen and tackled different between member states, but also the approach varies from sector to sector. I mean, it's different, the view of the national regulators and member states, and the view from the health professionals, the role of social, local bodies and consumer organizations are different in some ways. So we will try to handle this in this first round of questions. For example, as we have two representatives of experts or professionals in the energy authority, the national energy regulators from different countries, it was interesting to understand how national energy regulators see this new social priority as energy poverty. So I would start asking Johanna from the Finnish Energy Authority, what local, regional or national initiatives tackling energy poverty do you identify and find in Finland? And as a national energy regulator, which is, or you think it should be, your role in combating energy poverty?
Thank you, Marta, for the question. So first of all, I would like to present a little bit about what's Finland and just like remind that what's our situation. So first of all, that it's important to remember how small population we have. So there's only 5.5 million inhabitants in Finland. But then again, we have a large geographically quite large country, so long distances. And then there's like a very strong urbanization is going on in Finland. So that has also impacted this energy poverty. And then about what is the cost of energy in Finland, I would like to just point out that according to the statistics Finland, the share of energy costs, including electricity and heating, is about 7% of all costs in household. So the energy costs are not that, are quite small share of all costs. But then again, over 64 years old, so those households, the share is a little bit higher. So when we're talking about this energy poverty, we can clearly recognize that older persons may have a risk, and especially there has been 3 different studies made about energy poverty so far, and one by this assistant project. And 2 of those studies earlier, they have stated that there are not that significant number of households in energy poverty, but there is some 60 to 100,000 households that are in risk of energy poverty. And those households are especially low-income households living in large, non-efficient house outside urban areas. And what we have discussed with the national steering group is that it may be that especially those retired and maybe if a spouse has passed away, that then living alone in a large home outside countryside shows a risk to energy poverty. And then about those initiatives that we have in Finland, we have recognized those. Well, the first and the largest one is that we have a very comprehensive social support system in Finland. And in Finland, we guarantee that everybody who lives in Finland have the minimum income. And related to that, there are some households who, besides this minimum income, they get also heating support, and we can have those information from the Statistics Finland as well. And there are some 3,000 households who get this heating support, and they are living in a single family house, and it's something 200, a little bit more than 200 euros per month that they get this heating support. Then the second quite large initiative that we have is that the electricity supply cannot be disconnected due to unpaid bills. So, and this is during the heating season, which means the beginning of October to the end of April. So this is something very, very important as well, and it's in the electricity market law that the supply cannot be disconnected from those houses who use electricity for heating. Then there's 3 other as well. In Finland, there is free home repair advisory services for older people. The Finnish Association for the Welfare of Older People, they have these 15 experts around the country, and those 15 experts give help to older people to do the planning and apply subsidies and find contractors to do, for example, energy renovation, or if you want to change the heating system. So that is also really good service, and those experts are really doing a lot of work, and there's a lot of need for this service as well. And then when I said about subsidies, so there is this renovation subsidy for elderly or disabled people, and as I told, this can be used for the energy renovation. Then for other people, so generally there is this free energy counseling service that, for example, I'm coordinating in the Finnish Energy Authority. So this free energy counseling can be used for everybody. So they can help with the energy saving, or if you want to change the heating system. And then there's also these other subsidies, like tax subsidies you can also use for when you do energy renovation. And now there's also two other subsidies currently available by the Ministry of the Environment for do energy renovation, or there's this new subsidy coming for getting rid of your oil heating system to change it to renewables. So that kind of initiatives going on in Finland. And then Marcia, you asked about the role of our national
regulator.
Yeah. Well, I just say that I think there's this energy poverty issues is so multidimensional that we cannot do anything by ourselves. So it's definitely that in Finland there are many different sectors and many ministries and many actors who are working this. So we can only tackle the energy poverty together. So for example, with the Ministry of the Social Affairs and Health have really large system, because the poverty and the income they are handled by them. And then the Ministry of Environment, they are then responsible for the building stock issues and renovation issues. So they have also like a large huge role in this as well. And of course, there's many associations working with this as well. So there is that we need to do a lot of cooperation. Say.
Yeah, I'm interesting. Thank you, Johanna, to know if Mr. Schwara shares your views, as he is also an expert and former president of the national regulator in Poland. So maybe he wants to comment also. Yeah, if you have, can you turn your mic on?
Okay, Ayman. Thank you. Thank you very much. Answering your first question, I would say that, well, the public policy in Poland towards energy poverty is inconsistent. This is most probably caused by the fact that Poland, like Spain or Italy, do not have a formal definition of energy poverty. It may also be important that to say that Polish policymakers perceive only the price of energy as a very sensitive issue, leaving aside more complex approaches to the problem. Well, let me summarize my point of view and my view of situation in Poland in three bullets. First, in Polish energy law, there is a definition of vulnerable consumers, and such consumers are entitled to extra housing allowance. But this type of allowance may be perceived rather as a social policy measure it is not linked with energy as such or energy needs as such. The legal construction of this allowance can be regarded as a measure for improvement of the general economic standing of customers, but saying truly, it is not targeted specifically at fighting energy poverty. Second point is that measures related to tackling energy poverty may theoretically be considered in the context of various government programs related to the promotion of energy efficiency or distributed generation. The problem is that these programs are not easily accessible for vulnerable consumers. The reason is simple. If you are a vulnerable customer and you want to make costs of energy lower by, for example, installing solar panels, usually don't have money to cover costs of your initial contribution, or you don't have other incentives to do that. On the other hand, if you are such a consumer and you live in a flat, you don't have instruments to participate in various community initiatives, like, for example, community solar gardens or similar. So, summing up, the second problem is that there are no programs that are flexible or targeted enough to tackle energy poverty. Third point is that neither at the central nor at the local level, public authorities are obliged to adopt policy plans on combating energy poverty. Consequently, fighting energy poverty is not the legal task of local authorities, which neither have money nor experts ready to work. As a result, energy poverty cannot be tackled by the way of professional advice to households in need. Well, summing up, the lack of definition of energy poverty results in adoption of system which is based only on a limited social intervention. In my opinion, it may be changed by the way of making government programs more accessible to vulnerable groups, which will probably happen soon. Or by the way of institutionalization of tasks and professionalization of advisory functions. When it comes to energy regulators, I would share the point of view that the problem of their involvement in the system of tackling energy poverty is of course multidimensional. First of all, energy regulators deal with markets, and they are responsible, of course, for their proper functioning. It means that their responsibility in general is to assure that the level of energy poverty is not increased by, for example, excessive pricing. Second, regulators are, of course, those who know market best, and their knowledge may be utilized in many forms when looking for measures to tackle energy poverty. Of course, there is no closed catalog of regulatory tasks related to energy poverty. In practice, regulators are involved in energy poverty issues by rather soft measures like consumers' advice, sharing best practices, monitoring prices, raising awareness campaigns, promoting various innovative solutions, or by the way of their supervisory functions. Well, my point is that regulators deal with economic issues, but they are not necessarily specialists in social policy. It shouldn't be their role to substitute of social policy institutions, but they can, and more, they should be active participants in tackling energy poverty. In practice, they do that domestically and participating in European initiatives like citizens, energy forums, and similar. So I would, in general, I would describe the role of regulators as discrete, but on the other hand, very important from the point of view of the problem we are talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marius. This discrete role, but consistent in any case, no? The role of energy regulators. During ASSIST, the steering committee's discussion, health appeared as one of the main issues, as household energy is increasingly vital for maintaining good health. It is now more common to correlate, at least theoretically, energy poverty and health. However, it is still difficult, I would say, to set up combined programs between health and social sector in the majority of member states. Neil, as our health expert here today, as a joint commissioner across health and social care, identifying energy poverty from the health services is quite common in the UK. How do you work exactly with vulnerable consumers?
Thank you, Marta. Thank you to the previous speakers. Couple of areas they covered are very pertinent to the UK as well. And for Gloucestershire, Joanna mentioned rural areas and fuel poverty in rural areas, and we have an issue in Gloucestershire with older people often living on their own in large houses which they can't afford to heat. But yeah, how do the and also we do a lot of work with our regulator, working with our regulator, as Marius referred to, and I think there is a key role for regulation. But from a health point of view, we work very closely with our councils, our district councils in the UK. They have the housing responsibility, so we work closely with them, and we also work very closely with the voluntary sector, our voluntary and community sector, because these are the people, they really understand where the issues are, and they have the links to people actually in their own homes. They can, because as a health provider, we have links with people. As I said, when I said about my the early involvement of getting involved with ASSIST, we know about people when they're poorly or when they're ill. We don't know about them before, and we want to prevent them becoming ill in the first place, to put it in a nutshell. What we do is we use a lot of our health data. we can use data around attendance at hospital, whether people have been to see their doctor, how many times they've been and why. And this can help us to build up profiles for areas. And we use, the UK has a lot of data around deprivation. So we have areas which we know are more deprived than others. And we can target our resources into those areas by using the data that's around, that's available. And it's all about partnership working for us, because we do work, as I say, with our district councils. We have a scheme called Warm and Well, which is funded by all the district councils and the health service in Gloucestershire. And this provides people with help around paying their bills, if they want to change their tariff, also energy efficiency advice, and grants are provided for insulation. So that can help reduce people's bills, whether that be through changing their energy provider or in fact reducing the heat, reducing their heating costs by improving the energy efficiency of their houses. And this ties in with our climate change targets as well, because Gloucestershire has committed to become carbon neutral by 2030, which is a huge undertaking, but it's something we want to move towards. And the energy efficiency of properties is very important and has the knock-on effect of reducing fuel poverty. The other thing we do a lot of work around is something called social prescribing. Now, when people go to the doctors, they often receive a prescription for pills or medicine to help them recover from whatever illness they have. Some of the people who come to the doctors, and quite often our doctors tell us that they don't actually need medication. What they need is what we call a social prescription. They need maybe some support. It may be with fuel poverty. They may be feeling lonely. They may need non-medical support. We call it social prescribing. And this is something that doctors can offer people, and it's working with our community. This is our community providers who are then able to work with people in a targeted way to help them to improve their health and well-being without the need for medical intervention. We also have a Warm Homes Fund, which sounds a bit like what Joanna's operating in Finland, where we attracted £5 million into Gloucestershire to help provide heating systems for houses in areas where people were, they didn't have access to central heating. So this was, if people were eligible for it, they could actually receive free heating systems. And this has had a huge impact as well. So I think to sum it up, it is around good use of data and good use of partnerships in order to achieve our target to reduce fuel poverty in the county.
Thank you, Neil. So social services are your partners too when tackling also energy poverty. Yeah. Social services come normally from local authorities, local services, municipalities, but also from the third sector organizations who play an essential role while identifying energy poverty situations. We have here Stefan Guemar, social worker with a lot of experience identifying and managing energy poverty situations. Stefan, do you think that working with national health system would help to tackle energy poverty in Belgium? Which kind of measure would you rate as being more effective in terms of energy poverty eradication?
Okay. Yeah, I think we should be able to operate with the national health system in Belgium. We don't do it like the way they do it in the UK at this point. What we do have is that, well, first of all, I work in the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium. So Belgium is a rather difficult country, but we have different regulations in the different parts of Belgium. So I can talk mainly about the Flemish part. But in Flanders, it is that when you have energy debts, when you can't pay your energy bills with your commercial supplier, and you don't find a new supplier, you are automatically transferred to the DSO. So for us, it's the DSO that mainly has the people who are not able to pay the energy bills. And so for us, it's a big partner in tackling energy poverty, because they are the ones who know the people that are having energy debts and that are not able to go to a commercial supplier. So what are the kind of measurements we should be working on? Well, first of all, as we are working mainly with people who are in poverty, the low incomes should be higher. They should be meeting the European poverty standards. All incomes in Europe that are the most lowest or should be high, so people would be able to pay their bills. Secondly, of course, there should be also smart tariffs, or tariffs should be made more payable for people. In my region, if you're with the DSO, you are paying one of the highest energy tariffs in Europe. At this moment, it is 0.36 euro for 1 kilowatt hour. So if you're poor, you're not able to pay this. And thirdly, of course, the housing conditions of people in poverty should be made very much better. So you have to have these insulation programs. But what we see with all these kind of programs and measurements that are installed by governments, that you have to know the living conditions of the people themselves, and you have to reach out to them and do house visits, like the house energy advisors did in Assist, is that you go and meet the people and explain them what are the kind of measurements there are, because mostly if they come top down, they're not able to reach the people with the most needs. So what is the most effective? The most effective is measurements that are easily explained to people, that people can easily apply to, and that are made accessible to people who come and knock at their doors and explain it, all to come to the places where those people can be found, in community centers or in maybe, yes, at a local doctor, if he could transfer people and explain people what can help them in their situation.
Thank you, Stefan. Local bodies seem to be closer to citizens, and during Assist project we have had the opportunity to work with some of them around Europe. And here is Enzo Bertolotti, who can explain to us, well, her vision, his opinion on how can municipalities contribute to address energy poverty.
Okay. Municipalities have a great role in energy poverty. To better target the action, local authorities have to be involved, as they know better than any other the challenges that their citizens are facing. Energy poverty action needs an effort of the administrative structure in working transversally. Several sectors within municipalities are involved, and the needed expertise on social affairs and on energy are hosted in different departments that need to cooperate. In addition, local authorities need the support for other scale of government and other actors at local level, energy agency and social housing agency. Finally, energy poverty commitments must be defined, integrated into the SECAP. This is a very important moment. This is strategies, new strategies for the SECAP, for our instrument. And now we are under construction, new SECAP for the city. These activities, this pillar of the SECAP, this is very important. Actually, the energy poverty is a bureaucracy approach. The citizen ask to municipality and the municipality respond. Now is very, very align in a situation, stagnant situation. The evolution is the integrate activity to many office of the administration and many political representative of the administration. This is the solution for us.
Thank you, Enzo. Energy rights mean electricity, gas, are basic rights which everyone needs guaranteed access to. Consumer organizations protect energy users from abuses from the sector and need to play an essential and adaptive role while protecting vulnerable consumers. Carmen from ISPACOP, what is your diagnosis?
Thank you, Marta. As you mentioned, due to the liberalization of the energy market, provoke huge social inequalities. New regulation of this market create confusion and misunderstanding about the position of consumers in these energy markets. Consumers have enormous difficulties to understand the functioning of these markets and their rights. And in this context, consumer organizations have been working in defending and protecting consumers in general in this market, especially in the electricity in Spain, in the electricity market. Consumer organizations have put pressure in the government to regulate consumer rights and introduce consumer protection measures in this energy market through the consultative and representative activities in the framework of Consumer and Share Council, especially in Spain. So we have been focusing on establishing a regulatory framework in favor of improving the situation of consumer and the functioning of energy markets. And it is true that during this period, consumer organizations have accomplished a better understanding of the markets and their consumer rights. But nowadays, our objective is to protect and defend vulnerable consumers in this market. We consider that, that the weak part of this market is vulnerable consumer and those who suffer energy poverty. And this is why we are working for them, no? With our function of representation and defense in different spheres. Consumers in this situation of vulnerability are part of the priority lines to carry out a national project, especially in Spain, because they are financed by the government. So we put them in our lines are a priority. We consider that more information and awareness measures are needed to improve the situation of vulnerable consumers and to try to provide them with advice, information, and enough support to understand the market and also the rights, the consumer rights that they have. So in general, for consumer organization that belongs to the national consumer share body, we demand to the government to regulate the specific content of vulnerable consumer as a specific issue and to approve protection measures in all spheres. And this is a priority of all consumer organizations. It's a priority in our consumer agenda. So we require in this moment a specific regulation for vulnerable consumers for improving the situation in different markets, especially in energy markets, and to protect their consumer rights in general. So this is, we would like to focus on vulnerable consumers now and as a priority in our consumer agenda.
Thank you, Carmen. And just as a precision, and as you are in Spain too, remember that in Spain we do have an energy poverty definition in the national energy poverty strategy. So we see how we will manage also from the consumer perspective. Let's continue with the second round of questions in order to know how panelists see the needs to put a vulnerable consumer at the center of the policies addressing energy poverty. This is a question for Stefan. You are a social innovator too with the Papillon project, a circular economy product as service rental model for energy saving household appliances for people in poverty. How social innovation is necessary to put vulnerable consumers at the heart, at the center of policies addressing energy poverty?
Okay, thank you for the question, Marta. First, let me briefly explain what Papillon is about. So, as a social worker, I was doing house visits to people in energy poverty. And I found out in our region in Flanders that 1/3 of people in energy poverty are using high energy consuming appliances like a refrigerator or a washing machine. So they have this high energy consumption, which means they have high energy bills, which means they have more energy debts, and still at the end, they don't have money to replace the appliances with energy efficient ones. So I was trying to find a solution to tackle this problem, and in order to lower their energy consumption and energy bills. And I heard about this circular economy, this product as a service model, and I thought, what if I found an appliance manufacturer that would be not selling his appliances to people in poverty, but renting them out. So what we did is we established a rental model for energy efficient household appliances. And we had a first pilot project in my region where I work. And we are ready now to scale it up to Flanders, as it's been rather successful. So why should social innovation, or why should be the people themselves put at the heart of energy policies towards tackling energy poverty? Well, it's because you have to start from their needs. It's about what do people need themselves to be able to tackle energy poverty and to have payable, sufficient energy for having good living conditions. So you have to go to the people, talk to them, see what their needs are, and try to find solutions for those needs. It could be subsidies, it could be other things, but let's face it, it's mainly people in poverty, people with very low incomes, though you have to think out of the ordinary, and you have to cooperate and make smart, we call it alliances, make smart partnerships. So in my case, I partnered with a manufacturer, the more business kind of partner, which is for us not usual. It's stepping out of our comfort zone, but it's for the better of the people. And by doing it in a circular economy way, it's also better for climate and planets. So it's finding win-win situations for everyone, and but starting from the needs of the people themselves, and in this way you can have successful measurements installed.
Thank you, Stefan.
Okay.
Neil, from a health perspective, how local action put vulnerable consumers at the core of policies addressing energy poverty?
Thank you, Marta. Just briefly, Stefan touched on some issues that I was going to pick up as well. The whole area of community and actually asking people what will work for them, because some things work for some people and some things work for others. And I think we always need to keep that in mind. Something else that we've talked a lot about cold homes linked to energy poverty, but there's also homes that are too hot. And that the extremes of temperature can have a negative impact on people. So that's something we want to address more as the UK temperature increases, and in the summer we don't have temperatures as high as Spain, but we do have some high temperatures, and some of the housing is not appropriate for people because it's a change for the UK. I think it is all about how we work with our communities, and it is about partnership working, because we can't do it on our own as the health and social care organisations. And I think but also we need to work with we need to work with the staff who actually go into homes. We have respiratory teams, we have district nurses, we have social workers who go into homes. We need to raise awareness of energy poverty as a factor in people's health. And Assist has been invaluable in this. It's helped us to raise awareness of fuel poverty and the impact on people's health. And we'd far rather spend our money on keeping people healthy than treating them further down when they're actually ill. One of the schemes we managed to put, we match funded, and that's something that we can do because voluntary sector organisations in the UK are able to apply for funds that statutory, i.e. the health organisation and social care, can't always apply for. But what we can do is support and match fund. And our energy advocate in Gloucestershire, we funded that. And this is something that it's a person who can work with people who are having issues around paying their bills. Carmen talked about issues with energy providers. A number of you have mentioned this, and we've got energy companies, and getting in touch with them and talking to them about issues around paying your bills is not always easy. And we also have people who sometimes they're not on the right tariff. The tariff's not been adjusted. They're actually paying far more than they need to. They're accumulating credit when they don't need, and that's money they could spend on other things. And the energy advocate works on their behalf and contacts energy providers and companies, and actually has had a huge amount of success in getting money back for people, reducing their debts, getting debts written off, helping people to access some of the vulnerable people support that's available out there. But it's someone who can take the time, because it can be frankly quite frightening at times to deal with a big company or manage your debts, because it feels like a downward spiral, and controlling your debts is a big issue. And we talk about sometimes in the UK the choice between heating and eating, and that shouldn't really be the case, but there are people who have to make that sort of decision. We've got an example, one other example to give you in the UK. We're looking at the moment is the installation of solar panels. So through our working on deprivation data, we're looking at areas where we may be able to put some money into with the local authority and with a solar panel provider. So this is working with the private sector, something Stefan touched on. And we'd actually then be installing panels. The panels would go on people's houses. The energy would be provided to them. They'd pay a reduced rate, but what we would be able to provide that energy and then spend some of the money that was accumulated from this on putting panels on other houses. So it would be an ongoing project, and it's in its infancy at the moment, but it's something that we want to look at seriously as Gloucestershire, because we're all the different organisations involved are trying to reduce energy poverty with the goal of improving people's health and well-being. So it's a benefit for all if we get this right.
Thank you. Let's ask Mariusz for in Poland. How do you think the existing practices and initiatives such as Assist contribute to put vulnerable consumer at the center of policies addressing energy poverty?
Thank you very much, Marta. Well, but first of all, I think that Stefan and Neil touched the most important problem related to tackling energy poverty when they said that we should ask about people's needs. We should ask about what people really need. I believe that this project is mostly about how to listen and how to find most effective solutions. My answer to your question is that such initiatives like assists contribute to tackling energy poverty in many ways. What is most important to me is that such initiatives gather knowledge and best practices from EU countries with diversified policies and experiences with adopting measures against energy poverty. What is important for the future is that assist should be continued to make the original concept of household energy advisors a permanent solution and not only one-off idea that will be abandoned just after the project is finished. And this is my main message when you asked me about the value of such initiatives like Assist. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have some municipalities in Italy adopted the Assist model to tackle energy poverty, Enzo, and to reach citizens, for example?
Okay. In Italy, for our region or for our municipality, the local agency, the ATIS, that have attended ASIS training course to become a tutor, will realize a pilot project on energy poverty in a small town of the Pennine of Parma. His name is Berceto. With the targeted activities to reach the citizen, mostly elderly. This model can then be replicated in other towns of a similar size, 2,000 inhabitants, and can serve as a model also for a bigger city with some adaptation. For our city, there is some adaptation, there is some another integration of a model. A little bit of a project. This little small town in the Apennine is at 700 meters on the sea, is on the mountains. The climate is too cold respect of the Padana regions, and there is 1,000 of a family. The composition of the family is 1 or 2 persons, is oldest persons, is old component, is there is some problem, some family with problem, economic problem, and there is 4 buildings of the social housing agency. In this building, the local energy agencies envelope the project. The project have been 3-4 phases. One phases of information by meeting in the room, in the school, by energy coffee. The second phase is sensibilization. Is integrated with information to energy bonus. Energy bonus is a national bonus of energy poverty. The third phase is support to awareness of consumer. The fourth phase is assistance to energy efficiencies of house, to substitution domestic appliance, to reduce final cost of energy. This is the activity of this. The TED is a tutor, energetic domestic energy tutor. Is a new figure, new job for the future. Is a very important role for the project, for the goal, for the success. This is a little bit, but this all for me.
Okay. Thank you. Interesting to hear you, and how ASIS can be scalable, no, and replicate within and beyond the project. And Carmen, how consumer organization can push to put vulnerable consumers at the center of policies addressing energy poverty in Europe?
Thank you, Marta. Well, we consider necessary to tackle energy poverty as an emergency of energy vulnerability. All the year, consumer organizations have been working in detecting problems related to consumer vulnerability and energy poverty, and communicating these problems to the policymakers and other stakeholders to tackle the energy poverty with specific measures. And our interaction with policymakers allow us to communicate in a better way the problems that the vulnerable consumers suffer in the energy market, and put their needs in the center of the debate. So, however, it's a priority to put in practice a policy to tackle the problem of vulnerability with defined action and specific measures or particular measures. Nowadays, we are calling to take action of the energy poverty in the wake of the EU Green Deal. So as a consumer organization, we have been an active part in the design of this policy and contribute to the development of them in the aim of canalize the needs of these vulnerable consumers and guarantee the energy rights. For example, an improvement of the consumer protection measures could be contribute to alleviating to consumers' vulnerability. So that we ask for the development of a policy to reduce energy vulnerabilities and a better control of the practice in these energy markets. We request for a common policy that could determine clear objectives of reduction of energy poverty in each country. We consider that it's urgent it's urgent to establish different energy efficiency measures. We consider that this policy should emphasize on how vulnerable consumers could reduce their energy consumption, keep their energy bills under control, and limit the numbers of unpaid energy bills in these markets. So for us, home renovation programs, a measure of finance improvements in the energy situation of vulnerable households, are essential components to solve the problem of energy poverty, like facilitating improvements on the buildings, insulation, heating, and cooler system, promoting new household appliances. So for us, it's essential to target policies to those households that need assistance, to support them not only as a vulnerable consumer, but also a household in the risk of suffering energy poverty. And I think we need to participate all the stakeholders. they play a role from the administration, from a local, regional, and national level, and also social, civil society, household, local communities. So we demand measures and to put in practice this objective of reduction of the energy poverty in our agendas.
Thank you, Carmen. And to end with this second round of questions, I would like to ask Johanna to explain to what extent initiatives such as the ASSIST project has helped incorporating vulnerable consumers in the discussion, I mean, in the working on policies addressing energy poverty in Finland.
Thank you, Marta. Well, first of all, I would like to state that the ASSIST National Committee has been very good arena to talk about these issues, and the ASSIST project is the first project clearly focusing on energy poverty. So it has really been useful to have discussion around the vulnerability and energy poverty. And I think the steering committee has extended the understanding of this energy poverty and vulnerability of all the participants. And also I think it has been very useful to hear of what's going on in different countries, because it's clearly that it's very different situation in different countries because of the energy markets are different, energy systems that you can use, and the climate is so different. You cannot directly adopt different measures, but then the social innovations are really important to understand that what would be the ways to tackle these challenges. So there's a lot that we have been learned. And I think there's also, we have been dived more deeply about to study the statistics about this subject. So that has also been very useful for that. But perhaps we need more data about this. So that's something I would like to raise, that was already raised in these discussions. Yeah.
Thank you. Just before closing the session and trying to end it at 12, I will ask all panelists to give the audience a message, let's say on a Twitter format, 144 characters, to comment on the challenges to put vulnerable consumers at the center of energy systems. So, for example, Carmen, if you want to start.
Well, we are calling to take action to tackle energy poverty in the framework of the EU Green Deal as an important margin of our consumer agenda, being an active part of the design and the development of a policy to tackle the problem of the consumer vulnerability with actions and measures with the aim of canalize the needs of vulnerable consumers to guarantee their consumer rights and target to those households that need assistance and support.
Thank you, Carmen. Marius?
Okay, well, my message is simple. European Union can tackle energy poverty by multi-dimensional effort of various energy and social actors. Energy regulators ensuring fair functioning of the market are part of the solution. I hope I met your criteria, Marta.
Yeah, perfectly. Enzo.
For me, the message important is to keep in agenda for the local authority the energy poverty, and to keep attention, many attention, and the ideal plan, strategic plan is the SECAP for me is the second, the strategy of local poverty energy solution.
Thank you, Enzo. Johanna?
So as I already mentioned, I think we need like more statistics and data to better understand the vulnerable consumer and energy poverty, and also we need more information sharing between different actors. Thanks.
Thank you, Johanna. Neil, just some words to end the discussion. You are on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I would just say we need to know who those in energy poverty are. It's clear we all have a responsibility to reduce this, but also recognise the impact on the environment as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Now, Stefan.
Okay, so in Twitter style, it would be work together, listen to the people themselves, and work together with the people themselves, have social tariffs, and stop doorstep selling.
Thank you for this heading, Stefan. I would like to thank you, panelists, to accept this challenge to transform the formal session of this final event in Brussels to a virtual event. It has become an effort for you to be here today and make it virtual. I would like to give the floor to our coordinator, to Marina Varvesi, to give the last words, and also to give us a heading, also the final heading of the event. Marina, the floor is yours.
Marta, thank you. Thank you for chairing this session. Thank you for all the speakers to participate. Thank you all for attending. I hope we've managed to show how many aspects that there are in the energy poverty, and how the discussion between the various actors is important. Most of the last talks were actually on improving the dialogue and collaboration and so on. The steering committee members were only one per country invited to this event. There are others, and they contributed tremendously to the project. So special thanks also to all members of the committee, and a very, very special thanks goes obviously to partners who actually worked on the project and coordinated the work of this committee. Just to mention all of them, we have from Italy, RSE, and Unico, together with Ispora, from Spain, ECOSERVEIS, and ADE. Then we have Wine from UK, CAPE and Federazione Consumatore from Poland, Vito and Fluvius from Belgium, Vasa ETT from Finland, and EAPN from Belgium, the European level. So a very big thanks goes to all of you. So this is the end of our first webinar. Tomorrow we will meet again at 10:30. Tomorrow's webinar is on European projects. There will be the welcoming session of Vincent Peruto from IASNE, and then we will have the participation of Silvia Librelli, Cesara from EUC from the STEP project, then from the Rescue project, and Clotilde from the FANS project. I see from some faces that I may have problems with my audio. I apologize for that. And I hope to see you all tomorrow. I would like finally also to apologize on behalf of Mr. Coulon for not having been able to join us today to open this webinar. He was unfortunately he had an urgent issue and was not able to attend, but the European Economic and Social Committee has been following the project. They are members of ours. European Steering Committee, and I would like to share with all of you his best regards. So thank you for following, and see you tomorrow at 10:30, always on this same Zoom room. It's always the same. Thank you.